I'd like to welcome everybody. It's Mari-Lynn Harris of Hard at Work, and this is the podcast series about how to create an impactful legacy for yourself and your business. And anyway, today I have on the call with me is James Perryman. We haven't formally met, but I liked what he had to say when I was attending a webinar or a summit. So I'm going to let James introduce himself and tell us a little bit more how he got started into doing what he's doing now. So anyway, go ahead, James. Thank you for joining me
today. Thanks, Mari-Lynn. Thanks for inviting me. And as we were saying, it's great to be kind of speaking to your audience over in the USA who are having their breakfast coffee. I'm at the end of the day wrapping up, having no more coffee, and maybe thinking about treating myself to a Thursday night drink. So I have two businesses here in the UK, but my main business is called Momentous, and I work with individuals and businesses to help them ultimately become more self-aware, to help them perform better. Now, it's probably more relevant talking, I guess, about the individuals I work with, who I coach. Primarily, they're people who are lost in their career. They've lost their purpose, they've lost their motivation. I like to use the word mojo. I think they've just kind of lost that pizzazz. They've lost that energy that gets them out of bed in the morning. And I help them find it again. I help them find that direction that they want to go in. So whether it's staying in the job they're in, but just doing it differently, whether it's finding a new job in the company they're in, finding a different job, leaving the company, becoming entrepreneurial, doing something that gives them more value and more purpose in their life. And seeing those moments where their eyes light up and they get the possibilities it's kind of what I work for. It's what I seek. I've been there myself. I've been on that journey, and I know what difference it makes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you find some of the biggest challenges that you find your clients having, besides, just kind of, are they more burnt out, or are they just more aware that, something isn't working?
A lot of them are burnt out. A lot of them have tried to do everything, and they've not looked after themselves. They've not stepped back to just listen to their body. And a lot of them, that's an interesting concept for them, listening to the body. They say, well, how do I listen to my body? And it's like listening to your stomach, listening to your head, listening to your heart, listening to your muscles, everything that tells you whether you're tired, you're hungry, you're super on it and motivated and creative, and to work like that. But they're burnt out, or they haven't reached burnout, but they've just reached a point where all their hard work is creating no reward, and actually it's creating more problems for them. So they're not getting to the gym even though they've got gym membership. They're not getting home early even though they've got a family, and when they do get home, they kind of say hi, how's it going, play with the kids for a little bit, and then they're back on the laptop again, and so they're not present. And so it creates relationship problems, it creates resentment, and particularly for men as well. I've been in that situation, and men, once they accept that and they're willing to open up and say, look, I need some help here. I've just become lost in it all and I don't know where to start. That's where I help them. And sometimes it's about them as a human being, as a husband, as a father, and sometimes it's about them as a manager, as an employee, whatever the angle, a bit of everything. I've got one client at the moment and it is a bit of everything. So we've just got to approach it step by step.
Yeah, it's always interesting too, I think we all tend to, I would say for myself personally, I tend to burn out quicker because I'm so busy being of service to somebody else that I'm always second. So my biggest journey in the last year or so has just been about being more conscious. Okay, what does Mari-Lynn need? What does she want right now? And that is for me anyway, it's very hard because I've always been on the other side. So now I have to come back home to Mari-Lynn and say, okay. So I think what you're saying is so true. It's just, okay, we're here, now what, and just figuring it out. And sometimes we're bumbling along, but that's okay, because everything comes together anyway, right?
It does.
Yeah. So what do you think you kind of narrow down your client base and what their challenges that they're having. So what are some things that you help them do and other things? Is it mostly you're working with companies, or are they on the individual basis?
For those people that I'm talking about, it's mainly them as individuals, and they're
Okay.
actually investing in coaching personally. So they're not
Right.
trying to get the business to pay for it. They know it helps them in business, it helps them become better, but it could be that they decide to leave that business. So, for them, they're often kind of making that investment themselves. And I always start with anyone
Yeah.
to really help them become self-aware. And that's not about necessarily listening to their body, and because that's the point they'll get to. I think it's just about accepting what's really important to them and being really honest about it, not telling
Hmm.
me what they think I need to hear as a
Yeah.
coach, but just to be really honest,
Yeah.
what's important. And then I hold the mirror up and say, right, so are you doing that then? Because if you tell me that achievement at work is important to you, family time is important to you,
Hmm.
and your health is important to you, and they're the
Hmm.
three most important things. And what I'm hearing is that you work from 7 in the morning through till 9 in the evening.
Hmm.
Where's that family time happening? Where's that health happening? Because
Yeah.
I don't think it's important to you really, or if it is, you're kidding yourself a bit. And we've got some work to do. But
Yeah.
holding that mirror up for a lot of people, it's a bit of a shock. They
Yeah.
have to accept that what they really want to be important isn't what they're living right now.
Right.
It's not the
Yeah.
life they're living.
Yeah. Sort of not being authentic, you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely.
it's just being kind of going through the motions because they say they
Mm.
want that, but they don't really stop to be conscious about saying, okay, how I'm going to incorporate that into my busy life now, right? And
Yeah,
how's it going to work? And so we have
yeah,
to find alternatives sometimes, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's trial and error. It's trial and
Yeah.
error. It's putting strategies in. So, for me, I have a busy life. My children are grown up, so I don't have to worry about them day to day. They're at college. They've moved out.
Yeah.
Working, but I still want to see them, and I still want to spend time with my partner at home. So,
Right.
sometimes I have to have a strategy that says in my calendar, put
Yeah.
2 hours in to not work and turn the laptop off and
Yeah.
go and be present. And so, I think sometimes you
Yeah.
shouldn't have to plan that in, but when you've got so much to do and you've got multiple clients and your own business development you want to do,
Yeah.
you've got to plan that time in. And what the
Right.
net effect is, you get that time.
Right.
If you've got to put it in your diary, it means you don't book a meeting in, just on the sly or accidentally, or let people put a meeting in. It
Hmm.
shows that you're busy doing something else that's important that just happens to be personal.
Right.
And if that strategy gets to a point and it doesn't work, you adapt it, you revise it, you find something else. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
those strategies are key.
So, what do you think the biggest solution is that you offer to your clients that really has helped them navigate all that?
Biggest solution for me, and it kicks off at the beginning of the process, is what I call a circle of life.
Hmm.
And it's probably, lots of people are seeing it. And essentially, you take 7 or 8 different aspects of your life, which I've kind of talked about already. Could be career development, health, nutrition, family, friends, spirituality. Um, can't think what else, but kind of seven
Yeah.
or eight different things.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, today, where would I score myself from 0 to 10 on each of those? Being really, really honest. Where 0 is, it's awful. I have no proper health. I have
Hmm.
no proper diet. I don't spend any time with my family, and that's your map of where you are today.
Right.
And then say, right, now score it really honestly of where you want it to be, and it doesn't have to be 10 for all of them,
Yeah.
because that's not realistic. It might be that you say, do you know what, I don't want to become the CEO or an MD of a
Yeah.
big company. I actually just want to be a middle manager, and that's fine, and that's what I enjoy. So I'm going to put 6. But
Yeah.
actually, you know what? My family are the most important to me, and I'm going to put 9 or 10.
Right.
And health, I want to be healthy. I want to do some exercise, but I don't want to do it all the time, so I'm going to put a 7. And so you have a map of what you want your future to look like. And when
Right.
you compare the two, it's then pretty clear what the top 2 or 3 different areas are where you need to focus your attention. So,
Hmm.
and so I work with clients to put in place some goals in terms
Hmm.
of what will that look like, and what are the steps, what are the habits, the behaviors that will help you get there. So the
Hmm.
biggest solution for me is getting those behaviors in place, getting
Right.
those blocking your time in the calendar, every half an hour rather than going for a chocolate out of the tub, you grab a water flask and you walk to the furthest tap in the office, the furthest tap in your house, and you fill the water up and you come back. So you're getting water, you're getting steps in, you're moving your eyes away from a laptop to something else. You're doing 3 good things in one, and just putting those habits in place. That's, there's a whole thing. It takes 21 days for that habit to become normal. And when it's normal, then you can start something else.
Yeah. I think, like you're saying, it's just like scheduling what's really important to you, and put it in that pie. Just say, okay, I'm going to focus on these 2 things, maybe 3 things, and then slowly you can focus on other areas in your life that say that is so important to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that self-awareness at the beginning is important, and I think it depends on who you are. If it's someone that's where it's relatively easy to see how they need help, that's cool. If it's someone where I think they've got a bit of a mask, even to me, then maybe I start looking at some of the emotional intelligence profiling that I do, and get them to maybe just answer some questionnaires that I've got that help me understand a bit more about themselves. Do they regard themselves? Do they regard other people? Are they really aware of their feelings and emotions? Are they aware of it in other people? And then when they're triggered, when they're emotional, how do they manage that? And that, often that helps kind of shine the spotlight on where there are real problems, and whether they're, stuff that's from childhood that needs addressing, or whether it's more from a career perspective and it's about the environment they work in and so on.
And so in this age, like, because there's so many people doing remotely, or if we are working outside the house, so what are some of your challenges that you find your clients are facing working remotely? Is it really just staying focused, or what are some of the biggest challenges you see your clients have in that regard? Or does it affect you and where you live, because you're in the UK?
Do you know what? I don't think it is about where you are. If I've got, as I said just before we went live, I've got a client in Australia. So, he lives in the middle of a city, in a great place. It's their summer, my winter. But his whole thing with working from home is he misses the interaction with the people. He misses he's very introverted, so he needs his time to himself. But he needs to balance that with going in and talking with people, having sessions to think about new ideas, and then going home and being introverted again. My brother, he's obviously here in the UK, and he is very much driven like me about being around people, and he's hurting. He's in London, he's in his flat, and he hates it because he wants to be out there with people, and it affects his productivity, it affects how he starts his day. And if he's then talking with his team colleagues, talking with directors of the business, talking with clients, and his energy is low, he knows his energy is low, and it takes even more effort to be smiley and happy, and means he's more tired at the end of the day. So I think whether you're introverted or extroverted, we need to interact with a couple of people, a room full of people. We need that to balance our energy levels, and that's what people are suffering from. That isolation. And I've got a business client where I coach a lot of their team, and they're all very young, they're early 20s, and they live in a house, or they live at home still, so they're working from their bedroom, they're living in their bedroom, they're eating in their bedroom, and you can see when I talk to them like this face to face, I can see it on their face. I can see that pain. And so I just think that's a global thing. It's about that interaction. It's and not wanting to be isolated.
Yeah, I imagine it's quite hard for some people to not be used to, like always going to the office and having that interaction with each other and stuff, and kind of doing like that. For me, it's not an issue. I've always been working at home. Now, like I just said, I just kind of took on a job that I work full time, and it's like now I have to readjust my entrepreneurial lifestyle, if you will, or my businesses around the job rather than the other way around. So now I'm learning all that stuff. But it's just a matter of, like you're saying, prioritize myself, like, okay, I want to do this and this, where am I going to fit in this and this? And a lot of stuff, you know, there's always that settlement time, right?
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
you got to just say, okay, after this is done, I'm going to go do this. And after this is done, I can go do that. So, you know, it's just like working remotely is, you know, difficult. I know. I understand that for people that aren't used to it. They're really struggling, you know,
Mm.
like you were saying,
Yeah. And I,
you're working with teams and you can tell that they're really struggling.
yeah. Yeah. And I think with a lot of it, it's, you know, this has been out of our control. You know,
Yeah.
we didn't invite COVID into our lives. We
Yeah.
didn't invite all this lockdown, and and so therefore we don't have a big influence of it. You know, we can talk to our local um, people in government and so
Right.
on in order to try and influence decisions that are made,
Yeah.
influence our gyms opening and shutting, the restaurants and
Mm-hmm.
bars opening and shutting. But there's only so much we can influence. And if we spend too much energy and too much negative emotion
Mm-hmm.
trying to worry about this thing that we can't influence,
Right.
it's what a waste of energy. We're better
Right.
off saying, right, this is the world I'm in for 6 months, 9 months, 12
Yeah.
months. Here's what I want to do. I want to be able to get fresh air. I want to be able to see people
Mm-hmm.
and stay in touch with my friends and family. So I've got digital tools like Zoom, like
Yeah.
Teams, like
Yeah.
whatever. I've got the phone. I can still phone people.
Yeah.
I can see people, you know, across the street, staying 2, 3, 4, 5 meters away. What can I do? Just what can
Yeah.
I do to bring some of that back until things get to a point where they're
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
again, but in a better way?
Yeah. I guess, you know, like you were saying, is like finding alternatives, right? Like you were saying, I could see the neighbors, but maybe we could still wave or I
Yeah,
could still
exactly.
phone people. Like that's the thing that kind of amazes me is that people say, well, I really miss my friends. Well, pick up the phone, you know, like
Totally.
you talked to them before on the phone, do it again, you know, or if you don't want to do the Zoom call thing, then pick up the phone, you know, it's just amazes
Yeah.
me how many people just kind of stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a whole thing on communication, which I do a lot of training about and speaking about.
Right.
And I said it's ironic because there are so many people who didn't like picking up the phone because they didn't like confrontation potentially, or,
Yeah.
you know, just speaking to someone. It's easier to text or message or email.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we've you know, but face to face is okay
Yeah.
because you can see my body language and I can read yours.
Yeah.
But then as soon as we come to this way of living as we are now,
Yeah.
and we can't do face to face, we want it in the best way possible, which is like this.
Yeah.
And we forget that we could still ring. We don't want to ring. It shows that because over 50% of how we communicate is through our body language. And,
Right.
you know, when we don't get it face to face, we need that somehow. And so
Yeah.
this is the second best option for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think because like you say, we have the physical face to face, like you and I are having a conversation. So it's easier to relate to each other than if it was just on the phone. But I guess you have to be more conscious in hearing what you're hearing, right? Versus seeing. So if you're a visual person, the Zoom way is really a great way to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
So
Yeah.
what else can you tell us about what you do and how you help your clients and what tips or something you can help people, you know, navigate in their life right now?
Yeah, of course. So I help people to, as I said, become more self-aware,
Mm-hmm.
because for me, self-awareness is it's the foundation of you know, of being
Right.
healthy and of being successful. And for me, the second bit is being able to communicate well.
Right.
And, you know, so that's using, like we said, technology like video, phone,
Mhm.
message, email, whatever it is, but being really confident in yourself and recognizing how different people around us like to be communicated with. So,
Mhm.
you know, if I want to present an idea to 5 different people in
Mhm.
order for them all to give me a yes and to buy into it, how I communicate that idea to one person will be different to the next person. And
Right.
I've got to pick up on their style. You know,
Right.
what is it that will trigger them and make them say yes? Is it about the results, the outcomes, or is it about the engagement and
Mhm.
how we'll work together, or the excitement, or the plan, or whatever it might be?
Right.
So self-awareness and communication, I think, are key, and they're the principal things I work on with individuals, as well as helping people who have maybe left their job or they've lost their job, they've become
Mhm.
redundant, and they want to become entrepreneurial, they want to start their own business.
Right.
I help answer the questions that they don't even know they've got the questions for yet.
Right.
About, how do I start a business? What do I do? What do I offer to people? How do I market? How much do I price it for?
Yeah.
How do I get clients? Who are my clients? All these questions that they just don't know,
You're right.
which I've gone through. I help them go through that. And when I'm working with businesses, I tend to help them get their teams more engaged, working better together, working more productively and collaboratively. That ultimately, things happen faster, decisions get made quickly, agreement is got to much more quickly, and you then get to a point where you deliver better experiences for your customers. You create more moments of joy and excitement for your customers. So you got better people, happier customers, which leads to better business, better results.
Yeah, it's just really important that, like you're saying, people got to be awake in order to help themselves. Otherwise, it's just, you're moving in this path that one day you wake up, is this all there is to life? And there's so much more to life, but you have to decide to wake up and paint that picture for yourself, or sculpture it out for yourself, right?
Yeah, and I think it doesn't matter what journey you're on. It's, you might be an individual or a business where you're at that point where you just think, what's this all about? My business isn't exciting anymore. My life isn't exciting anymore. What do I do? Yeah. Or you might be at the beginning of your journey and, you're just thinking, right, I've got all this opportunity in front of me. What do I do? I'm presenting to some Silicon Valley startups about this time next week. Yeah. And I'm talking about people in tech and young people who have become entrepreneurial. Right. And so they're very technical, they're experts in what they do, but they haven't practiced being a leader. They've not managed people before. They've not had to communicate with clients before. And so they're hungry for it. Right. And it's completely different. There's tired and burnt out, and there's energetic and hungry and ready for it. And I love those two dichotomies, those two extremes.
Yeah, because they are totally different, right? Much different than just running solo and then all of a sudden you're managing a team. It's like, oh my gosh, what do I do?
What do I do? What do I tell them? Yeah.
I call James.
Yeah, you tell them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, James. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mari-Lynn. Thank you.
And if you have anything, last things, to get a hold of James, you can go to podcast.heartatworkonline.org to see his page and get a hold of him there. And also, this is live streaming on YouTube, so you can go to the YouTube channel and watch the show again. But in the meantime, James, do you have any final things of how people can get a hold of you and go from there?
Find me on LinkedIn. My face looks pretty much like this, and it's James Perryman. And connect with me. Let's start a conversation. Tell me what's going on for you. My website, you will see on there as well. The business is called Momentous, and it's going through a really exciting rebrand right now. So probably in the next week or so, it will look completely different, and it will be much easier to work out what we do and how we could work together. So get in touch and let's have a conversation. Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining me today, James. So appreciate it. Your time. Thanks, and I know you're getting ready to go to bed. And I'm starting my day. Exactly. But anyway, we take care. And the last word of the day is just be kind to each other. I mean, that's all we have.